Off the top here at noon, you are looking live at what is left of the former Pulse nightclub in Orlando. Crews began demolishing the building just after 9 a.m. You can see they are still hard at work at this hour. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sonica Donge.
And I'm Christina Watkins. We have live team coverage this afternoon from Pulse in downtown Orlando. West 2's Bob Hazen spoke with city leaders as well as a survivor on what this milestone means. But let's begin with West 2 News Sunrise anchor Jason Guy, who watched crews come in and demolish this nightclub. Jason.
Well, it's been a big morning out here at the site of Pulse nightclub as it's finally been leveled. I want you to take a look at this site behind me. Live right now, we're still seeing some of the heavy machinery, but that Pulse building is no more. Crews are still putting water down. That's a way to keep the dust from flying to the nearby businesses, to all the media crews out here, and into some of the surrounding neighborhoods where people live. What was really an amazing morning here. We saw all of this unfold around 9 a.m. with that construction beginning. Check this out. Now we saw that building really piece by piece come down, and within about 90 minutes we couldn't make out any of the structure beyond that fencing there, that 8 or 10-foot fence that surrounds the Pulse property. And we watched the demolition take it down to the ground. Now keep in mind, there's a lot of debris there. That's going to take about 2 weeks to clear from the site. Several city officials, even survivors, made their way out here. They wanted to see this process firsthand, and West 2's Bob Hazen joins us live right now as we bring Bob in. What did they have to say as they witnessed this history-making moment?
Well, Jason, a lot of the people I talked to said that they really have mixed emotions about this demolition, and the mayor said he feels like this is the beginning of what they've been trying to do for 10 years now.
Today it seems more like it's not remembering the past, it's moving on to the future and actually creating the memorial.
Well, the mayor and a large group of City of Orlando staff were here watching, along with a number of family members of victims and survivors of the attack. They all had to be outside that 8-foot tall construction fence, but they could see those excavators shredding the walls and the roof of the former nightclub, dropping it down into those piles of debris. The building's been off limits to almost everyone since the attack, but the outside turned into a makeshift memorial. It was covered with pictures of the victims and messages to remember them. I did talk to one survivor who spent hours hiding in the bathroom during the gunfire back in 2016, and he said that he is ready to see a true memorial here to the victims.
It's been an eyesore for years, and hopefully now it's sad, but hopefully it'll bring us some closure in the sense of looking forward to progress and something put up in respectful, more bright, more cheerful.
A big reason that it took this long is because of the One Pulse Foundation. That was started by the former owner of Pulse, and it controlled the site here. It had grand plans for a massive museum down the street from here, along with a memorial, but a lot of survivors and victims' family members felt like their voices were not being heard in that process. Plus, the nonprofit went broke and dissolved about 2 years ago. That's when the city stepped in, bought this property for about $2 million, and got moving with this demolition, and very soon with the construction of that permanent memorial. Jason, back to you.
All right, Bob. And today I spoke with a member of that Pulse Memorial Advisory Committee. Nancy Rosado told me that this is a positive step forward in the healing process.
In 2016, there was this ripple through here of sadness that kind of started growing like a wave, and it just engulfed us for months. And it's been 10 years of that ripple growing. To see this happen now, the building taken down to make way for something so fitting, I think for the Central Florida community in general, not just Orlando, I think it's a sign of growth. It's a sign of recognition of something that was so painful. It wasn't ignored.
And coming up here in our next half hour, you're going to hear from a woman who represents some of the mothers of the victims. These are moms who lost their children in the Pulse tragedy. That's ahead in our next half hour. And after today, many are wondering what is next for this site of Pulse nightclub. In about 2 weeks, they will have this area cleared. And then the city says it's going to be another milestone, May 8th. That's when the 60% design is due. Right now, we're only at about 30% of the design completion. Construction on the permanent memorial is expected to start in September of 2026, and construction should wrap up by the end of 2027, somewhere around late fall. Now, we're starting to get a better idea of what this permanent memorial is going to look like. Right here on this site where Pulse nightclub once stood. We know that a meeting earlier this month is when we saw some of the design plans and renderings. Currently, the design includes a corner space called Prism Plaza. It's right there at Orange and Esther. So if you drive Orange Avenue and you've passed this Pulse site, this is where Prism Plaza will go up. It's built to catch the sunrise as a symbol of the new day, and the plan looks to incorporate pieces of that original site. We're talking about that breach wall, a section of the dance floor, and even concrete from this demolition today. That's going to be brought in as part of the construction of this new memorial space. It'll also include a 3,500 square foot visitor pavilion with space for exhibits. And the city is looking for green construction in this. They want to have it LEED certified. And keep in mind, the design now is only about a third of the way complete, some 30%, so things could change between now and September. But above all else, I think it is so important that we remember why we're here today. It's because of the 49. And these are the 49 who lost their lives nearly 10 years ago at Pulse nightclub. We want to always remember their names and faces no matter what ends up on this piece of land where we're standing today. And ahead this hour, we're going to take a look at plans for another Pulse memorial. This one's set to go up in Osceola County to remember the 49. We look at where things stand after several delays on that project. For now, I'm going to send it back into the studio. Sonica and Christina, back to you. Certainly a big momentous day here in Central Florida.